and hello everybody. I will do my best not to be the scary cyber guy during this conversation, but I wanted to bring up a few key points as we are seeing corporations around the world move to a work from home model. Even in our own corporation, we went from about a 13 to 15% work from home to 93% work from home in under a week, and that raises a lot of concerns. What I want to cover, and I have no slides on this, so it's just a conversation, are where we're seeing some significant upticks in attacks, then what people can be doing about it. What I think corporations and the people who work for them need to really focus on are three areas of attack cycles we're seeing a significant increase in. The first is phishing. Not only corporate email phishing, but we're seeing the personal phishing attacks really start to skyrocket as people use platforms like LinkedIn, for example, and they've exposed what companies they work for, what their leadership looks like, and sometimes even their corporate email addresses. We're seeing a lot of the spear phishing concepts come to people's personal accounts and to their work accounts as well, but the personal accounts are what's concerning to us. A lot of our employees have been in an experience where if they got a strange email from their boss or from their CEO, they may have been able to walk down a hallway to ask a question, to be able to have a discussion with that person to see, did you really do that? And what the adversaries are starting to realize is you don't have that opportunity anymore. Most likely you're not anywhere near that person. You may not even be in the same time zone anymore, as a lot of people have gone to shelter in place and have left the regions they actually work in. On top of phishing, we're also seeing a significant uptick in vishing, which is voice phishing, where people are getting phone calls claiming to be from service desks, help desks of the corporations they work for, looking for password changes, looking for information that they can use to compromise the businesses they work for. So how do you fix all this? What you've heard so far today and what you will continue to hear is communication. You have to make sure you do not stop communicating with your employees. You do not stop any testing or education programs you have with your employees. Even though people are home, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, you cannot stop the basics. The other thing we're seeing a huge uptick in is home IP address attacks. Many people are now working from home, and one of the interesting things that we've seen is that a lot of people have home internet providers, and I ask this a lot when I have open panels and I can see everybody's face. You know, how many people on this call of the 82 people here had someone come into their home, install some equipment, show them that everything worked, including your television? You smiled and waved goodbye and you thought everything was great. And the answer is most people. How many people have gone through and actually hardened the devices that were left behind, changed your default passwords, made sure they were not accessible from outside of the home that you live in? And the answer, unfortunately, is not many. And that should scare us, because we've now given equipment for people to work from home without thinking that they are now on a network that may have been compromised a long time ago or may be compromised sometime soon. So how do you address that as a company? Again, through communication, sending out notation of, if you're working from home, you know the region, you know the major providers in the region and what kind of equipment they're using. Offer them guidance, offer a help desk to say, if you've got certain piece of equipment, call into our help desk and we will help you secure that. Send them links to those providers so that they can go in and start securing the equipment within their home. You've also heard things about policy and procedure. Now's the time to really make sure that you've evaluated your policies and procedures so that things like system sharing. A lot of people are getting equipment that may be better than their personal equipment. They're now sheltering in place with their siblings, with their children, with their spouses, and with their friends. And they may think, wow, I have a better laptop or desktop that the company's provided me than the one I actually own. Well, are they allowed to share that with their friends and family? Are they allowed to use that for their personal use? Are they allowed to install things on those devices? If the answer is no, are the employees that are working from home aware that that's the case? If not, you need to make them aware. You don't need to scare them, but you need to make sure you're communicating the policies and the procedures that you have in your corporation clearly, effectively, and continually throughout this pandemic, but in general throughout their employment time. These are some major areas of concern. I've also seen a significant uptick in, unfortunately, knee-jerk reactions to the work from home. I've actually talked to some companies who are literally buying equipment from big box stores and online retailers, not doing anything to those systems and sending them to home users with instructions. I highly recommend you do not do that. Companies need to understand the decisions they make today will seed their futures, and with a cybersecurity, they will not like what grows. Adversaries right now are being inundated with information that they cannot use today because the amount of it is too great. Things that are happening today you will not see in the news for 120 to 180 days. That's when a lot of the problems that we're causing today as a society for this work from home will really start showing itself. And finally, you have to really look at the technologies that you're utilizing for your work from home. The technologies of yesterday are not designed for where we are today. If you think about most remote access VPN infrastructures, they were really designed for, that 15 to 20, maximum 25% of your workforce work from home. That includes the hardware that was used, that includes the software license for concurrency, how many people are able to access your infrastructure and your assets. And a lot of people, a lot of corporations, a lot of CIOs never looked at anything different. Even though you may not want to change today, even though you may not have the capability to change today, now's the time to start having those conversations. Software-defined networking and software-defined perimeters are the new norm. If you are not doing that, you are going to have problems in the future. If anybody, in my opinion, believes we're going to go back to 15% work from home, as we were talking about in this chat, I don't think you're correct. You're going to see a lot of companies decide, wow, we were successful with this work from home. We're going to increase our continued capabilities. But if they use the policies and procedures that they had when this pandemic occurred, they will see major breaches. And that's regulated and non-regulated companies. And I'll even throw one further. Those are government agencies. Don't think the governments around the world, both local, federal, state, are not dealing with these same problems. Software-defined network, software-defined perimeters are going to be, again, the new norm. And then, finally, it's monitoring. A lot of people, if you think about your VPN, it was expanding of the four walls. Now I don't have a perimeter anymore. The new perimeter is really two things. It's the laptop we're sitting on, and I just shook mine, and your identity. That's the new perimeter that we need to start thinking about. And how are we monitoring that? How are we making sure we know what's going on, not only by the asset provided, but by the identity of that asset and the user behind it? And we have to start thinking much differently, right? With all of the privacy concerns we have around the world, we have them in the US, you have them throughout Europe, obviously, in most major countries that I work in, we deal with privacy as well. So how are you going to deal with that identity-based concept moving forward? I know we're short on time, so I'm going to end. But again, if I can leave everybody here, which is a few main points, it's communications. Remember, there's a human being behind the computer. We all make mistakes, but what you do not want to do is leave it in the hands of someone who doesn't know to make the decision. Provide your employees the data they need to operate securely, and then hold them accountable. That is a good thing. We all want to know. We all want to do the right thing. Maybe not all, but most of us at least want to know. Up your monitoring. You have to be monitoring. And monitoring is not just technology, but ask your CISO, ask your CIO, ask those people, for a report on a day-to-day basis. What are people doing? What are they seeing? Work with your partners on threats. If you do not have an intel or threat team within your organization, start partnering with companies that have them. Start looking at services that provide them. I have a threat intelligence team that reports to me. I meet with them twice a day, 7 days a week. 7 days a week. It's that important. I need to know at the drop of a dime if there's a targeted threat, not only against our corporation, but our clients as well as our leadership. So it's very, very important for us. And obviously, with that, I say to everybody, please be safe. I will hand it off to the next so that we can talk about our users.
Yeah,
Thank you
right.
all.
Just a couple of quick questions for you before we do that. Really, really fast answers. So I've got a question in from Matt Sims that is actually, I think, basically asking, do you think the regulators are going to be turning a blind eye to fining people when things go terribly wrong in this no, big no?
I do not believe so. I actually think you will see regulators and you will see agencies stepping up their game, because this is a test on corporations' preparedness. There is no better test than what's going on today. And those that succeed, I think you can have a really good marketing differentiator, and we talked about that in chat. And those that fail will suffer.
Okay, thank you. And the other one is from Lauren Tennant. I guess as well as moving from traditional VPN to SDN technology, this will save huge costs for businesses as well as enabling capacity right now.
Absolutely. I mean, again, and this isn't a plug for my company. Like I said, we went from about that 13 to 15% to 93%. We actually did it in 48 hours. No additional costs, no additional infrastructure, no negative experience to our associates. And a lot of these are people who've never worked from home. And we did this through our software-defined perimeter capabilities, point-to-point capabilities that we have as a company we sell, but also that we utilize, as well as VDI infrastructure without relying on traditional VPN. We actually don't even have that.